Welcome to the Bosnia Agile Week one more time. Thank you for joining this session. Okay, so we are here to talk about production application support. I bet all of you are scared now, right? Or not. Just picture it. We have a major outage going on and it's not a big deal, right? We just need to find a senior developer who can track that link down and recycle the app pool or restart the server, and everything will be fine. Actually, these kind of issues are, let's say, easiest to fix. Sure, everyone is stressed out because a lot of users are impacted and the client is making pressure to fix it right away, making suggestions how much money they will lose every minute. It can happen in the middle of the night and so on. But in those kind of situations, you already have everyone needed in investigation. You have the best people, you have all resources, you have clients' consent to make changes directly in production, just to make it go away as soon as possible. Now, let's take a look on another type of production issues besides this one, actually all others. When you have a lot of tickets to attend to, and then you need to do a proper investigation, development, testing, deployment, and make regular updates, while being chased by a large group of people is when you could use any help that you can get. Okay, so already said, my name is Mustafa Mehmedić, and I'm a program manager and Scrum Master at Authority Partners. And today we are going to talk about how DevOps teams can make your life easier and help you handle production part of applications life. This is our journey for today. A few topics I wanted to cover. So let's get right to it. The first one, the benefits. Of course, so I wanted to introduce DevOps a bit. Even this session is not about DevOps in general. But let's take a look on some benefits of working the DevOps way instead. There is a great number of benefits, of course, but some of them would be more interesting to us today than others. So the first one, digital transformation. Every business, especially enterprise size, these days need to digitally transform the way they work. And software is crucial for this change, for enhancing customer experience and also improving team productivity and efficiency. Then we have business transparency following. Fast emerging customer needs will lead to fast-moving business, and that doesn't necessarily lead to the high cost of IT operations. And if it does, that's not the real issue. But it could lead to the lost opportunity to deliver with high quality and speed. The solution is, of course, with DevOps. I would say the accent here is on the culture. IT department in a company need to share the same business value as all other ones do, not just, for example, top management or sales. This should help to put the needs of actual customers or consumers in front of everything else across the company. Now, think about it from the production support angle. Agility is the most important reason to adopt DevOps in general on a company level. And I'm talking about business agility here. This means that lost opportunity again. Not answering to market's needs quickly and with high quality could lead to be outreach for product delivery. Now, why I'm mentioning all of this? Because it's especially related to production support. If you think about bug fixes as product delivery, when you cannot predict or plan your future work and tasks, it's important to have the infrastructure and proper teams in place to be able to answer on the business needs on the fly, and in this case, to fix something in production really quickly. Embracing DevOps culture and practices for production application support would enable rolling out bug fixes at much higher frequency and also increase agility and efficiency in both proactively and reactively in regards to customers' needs. Now, when it comes to production support, The only thing more important than fixing a bug is getting that fix deployed to production quickly and without breaking something else, possibly even bigger than the original issue was. In a traditional lineup, we tend to make support teams as efficient as possible. So having first level of support responding under a minute, tickets being logged, tracking and reporting on all kind of things, dev teams making fixes at high speed, and at the end, we end up waiting on the next regular release. Now, obviously, this is unacceptable for a wide range of production issues. For example, if we have a lot of users impacted or finance-related bugs, post-release problems and similar, testing could be an issue too. We could end up with end-to-end testing even for a small change to fix something big and important. So the biggest value DevOps offers here is velocity, ensuring faster delivery on all development, testing, and production releases. So keywords here are automated deployments and continuous integration, making sure less mistakes are made and productivity of the teams is also increased. Then we have customer feedback. So in a complex environment, many times teams are faced with edge cases or flaws in the original specifications, and those get reported as issues or bugs. The advantage of DevOps is the ability to obtain continuous feedback and incorporate it into investigations. This would help to process on these kind of cases more quickly, while also keeping the customers as satisfied as involved parties in fixing something urgent and important. With production issues, the turnaround need to be much quicker and more seamless, which could actually require changing tools, processes, and culture, of course. The last one I wanted to mention here is related to stability, quality, and security. So when we have DevOps, let's say, already implemented, the entire team shares the same goals related to performance and user experience, stability, security, and even time to deliver to production. The principles themselves ensure that the entire process is monitored by the entire team. So there is no difference if a fix is stuck with development or testing or deployment. If any of these fail, it will impact the team as a whole. The same goes for dependencies between related systems. Complex tasks are more easily done when they are brought out by the team and not by an individual, avoiding bottlenecks. So let's take a look on some basic needs for supporting applications in production environment. Let's take one step back real quick. So DevOps first started focusing on code deployments and continuous delivery to support agile software development. Yeah, but production support is the next important component in the application life cycle, and we cannot overlook that. To solve production issues quickly, developers and operations cannot work as separate teams, but rather than one and the same. So there is a number of holdbacks and obstacles for the teams who work with production support. For example, a few of the senior developers are working on urgent and tricky production issues while designing new features at the same time. Others just don't have access or the knowledge how production environment is structured. Or another one, if developers need to contact people from other teams, even to solve basic issues, it would create a huge bottleneck. Involving more people in application support is needed to remove these kind of bottlenecks. So operations need to make sure that the dev team has visibility of troubleshooting information and tools such as logs, other metrics, errors, and similar. But this could be an issue for two reasons, though. The first one, security concerns if granting access to production data to everyone. And the second one, checking dozens of servers and hundreds of logs data by the dev team wouldn't be much efficient. That we know that actions on production issues must be quick. So development teams should have an aggregated read-only information which could help them to find what they need quickly while not introducing new issues and problems. Application data must be accessible and in a proper way. I need to mention here again those deployments. So Agile development introduced shorter dev cycles and more frequent releases. We know about that. But in most companies, especially those who work on complex applications, this is still a weekly or even monthly cycle. So working on production support, especially with sensitive data like, I don't know, finance, payments, user accounts, security details, similar, of course, together with major outages, days, hours, or even minutes of downtime could mean a big negative impact on revenue and companies' image towards the end users and customers. So having all this covered in one DevOps team, and I would say a cross-functional and cross-system one, all dependencies related to development on different systems, also testing and deployment could be overcome. Users' feedback. So direct team communication on all levels of production support is also crucial, I would say. So to solve these issues quickly and properly, a lot of times a feedback or additional information is needed from the reporters of those issues. Checking if everything is fixed from the user's perspective is also something important. To have the full cycle closed for any production issue, this communication needs to run in real time, even between team members or using a tool to do it. So we need to ask ourselves now how DevOps can help with all these we just mentioned. Automating data collection and understanding events is actually the solution. It's not uncommon for remote application data to be scattered across distributed environments and different formats and naming conventions, especially when you have dynamic environments and cloud platforms. Gaining insights into remote systems is one thing, but real help comes from understanding the actual content. A developer will need as much details as possible, but logs need to be noise clean and with rich descriptive and diagnostic data, again, quickly and easily accessible. One other thing I wanted to mention here, pre versus post-mortem. So working on RCAs after something is fixed and done, fun times, right? Yeah, but I have something even better. Anticipating risks so they can be solved before they even happen. So at the beginning of a project, or also before every at least big release, the team need to sit together and talk about failure. Then they need to figure out how to prevent problems that could arise. So they need to take into consideration things like what can happen to make the deadline to be missed, or how quick reaction on big issues can be made. How to own biggest risk areas. A carefully created plan for the upcoming production support period after some big release can decrease the stress and also give the teams opportunity to make any big issues go away much more quickly. So the DevOps culture. We need to mention that, of course, because even if you have the best tools, DevOps cannot help much if you don't have the right culture. The main goal of DevOps is increased collaboration between development and operations people, yeah. But some cultural shifts are needed on both team and organization level to achieve this. So now we can take a look on some of them that are actually important for production support. The first one, and I would say the most important one for us here, is shared responsibility. This aspect of DevOps culture encourages actually close collaboration. If a team cannot push code changes to other teams for deployment and production support, they will pay more attention on the quality and simplicity of their work, also documentation and logging. But the organization needs to support this in the first place. We always say there shouldn't be any silos between development and operations. That doesn't mean that we can just give access to any documentation or other resources and tools to each other. Sync-up calls, knowledge transfers, and handovers are poor substitute for working together throughout the application's lifecycle or any separate functionality. So we need some resource restructuring to make these kind of teams. Signing off someone else's work would move the teams away from the shared responsibility and introduce the culture of blame. Now, we already mentioned building quality into the dev process. This would help to put new code in production more easily and more quickly first, but also help to maintain and troubleshoot it, so meaning production support. This includes cross-functional concerns as well, such as performance, security, dependencies on other related systems and applications. So we already mentioned that. Feedback from the end users. We already talked about that, but not only that, production monitoring is helpful feedback for production issues diagnosis and for spotting potential improvements as well. Now, besides breaking down the silos, DevOps movement has another important task, and it is automation. If we automate tasks, for example, testing, of course, configuration and deployments, we would reduce a chance of human error, but also free up people to really focus on valuable activities. There is a side effect of automation, but a useful one. It can serve as detailed and always up-to-date documentation of a system or any part of it. So, for example, if we automate server configuration, both developers and operations would know how that server is configured exactly, and they would be able to change or fix anything needed really quickly. Okay, so all this is theory. What exactly I could do better to support my applications in production environment? Let's take a look on a real example. The simplified version because of the time, but DevOps is all about simplifying things anyway. Let's take a look on the traditional lineup first, more or less. So the dev team is getting ready items and they work on developing them. They would pass their tickets to QA UAT teams for testing after deployed to a staging environment. If any bugs found, developers need to fix those and ask developer to try again. When everything is ready, a release needs to be scheduled with additional teams or people involved to deploy everything to production. So pretty smooth, right? Well, not exactly in practice. If we have, if we are working on a complex application, we would have multiple dev teams. So probably to deploy, probably to develop everything from database, backend, front-end application, and so on. And that means dependencies. All of those teams, they would have their own priorities besides the mutual work they need to do together. So this cross-system work would get even more complex, especially for bug fixing, so for the production support. All this time, you would have the separate support team fixing production issues on the functionalities already in production, and they are working cross-system. They would need to reach out to the people in other teams for complex issues. They probably don't have enough visibility on production metrics. they don't have enough. They don't see like server configuration that could be actually handled by the external company altogether. And all of a sudden, they need to do post-release support, but they are already chased for all kinds of critical issues raised before. Also, when this new functionality is live in production, the entire team needs to familiarize themselves with the specs, architecture, and code. So when they get an issue related to it, they could spend hours investigating, not realizing that it can be working as designed, or an edge case, or wrong configuration, another system overload, another release in progress, network issues for a user or a specific group of users, or even a user's computer. So this is obviously not an ideal way to handle the most important part of applications lifecycle, right? What can we do actually to improve this setup? In short, we can create DevOps teams to handle both development and production support. So again, simplified version, depending on the complexity of the application being developed, a team could be structured like this. So we would have developers on all or key applications and systems. Then we would have QA engineers for the same applications and systems, and at least one infrastructure specialist. Now, during the sprint planning, every such team, so we could have multiple teams at the same time, every such team would take one or more entire functionalities to work on them. And developers would work cross-system to avoid having any dependencies on external teams' work. So they could develop everything from database to the front-end applications inside the same team. At the same time, QA guys could test them end-to-end, but also making themselves familiar with the entire functionality and its parts on all systems involved aside specs only. The infrastructure engineer could prepare everything related to configuration, prepare environments, and everything else. So now from the capacity planning point of view, we would tend to have 100% of the team's capacity occupied with new PBIs and published to the sprint backlog, but only include, let's say, 80% of those items in the sprint goal. The 20% of a difference is reserved for our production support. And for the same functionalities, the same team worked on in previous sprints. So if we get a production issue from trivial problem to major outages, we would be able to bring a relevant person to it right away without impacting the delivery of the new stuff for the team. We cannot plan what the future holds for production support. So we might end up even with no production issues the entire sprint. Probably not, but maybe for a few team members. So this 20% of a difference, the additional items on the sprint backlog would ensure enough work for all team members in such cases. So this kind of a team would be able to tackle all production issues for their functionalities they know best without having any impact on the current sprint for the delivery. On the other side, the QA engineers are familiar with the specs, the functionality itself in the application, edge cases, they have all test cases created, so they would be able to reproduce any issue and help developers debug. And developers are debugging already cross-system. The infrastructure specialist can check servers, network logs, configuration, and so on to help with the investigation of that specific issue. But not only that, he or she can monitor production metrics and spot any issues or possible improvements to alert the team to proactively work on them before any tickets are raised by the users and deploy also any changes that are created. So one team can investigate it all, find the problem, fix and deploy back to production quickly, which is the entire meaning of production application support. And that would be it from my side. I'll have some time for questions. Do you guys have any, maybe?
Thank you for your presentation, Mustafa. I would like to encourage everyone to post their comments, questions in a chat. Mustafa, can you see the chat?
Yeah, 1 second. Just checking that. Okay, I have it.
Okay, so maybe you can read the question first so that others can see it as well. And also, please add more questions if you want. Thank you.
Okay, do you see any questions? Okay, they're just coming in. The question that I can see is about recording the session. So, Dalbor, maybe you can answer this one, please.
Okay, the session is recorded and all the videos will be published later. Okay. So, do you see questions and answers? We have 2 questions from Edo.
No, I only have that one. I'm not sure why.
Okay, so in the bottom of the screen, you have the Q&A button.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so the first question is on production support. Can you share an example that includes developer squad team that developers the app and production support along with the way of work? I'm not sure if I'm getting it correctly, but probably related to an example of a DevOps team that we just talked about with the way they work. So basically an example that would include this. So this is actually was the end of the presentation, but Edo, please correct me if I'm wrongfully reading this. So basically, one team that would be efficient in a DevOps way for both development and also production support. Okay, yeah, thanks. Edo is actually from this example that we just mentioned. So in short, just to repeat myself, I also have experience with working with teams that work on really complex applications which require cross-system and cross-functional work. So, okay, so if it's fine, but never mind. Thanks for the question. So basically, one team should be able to develop any functionality or at least for the key applications and systems from end to end, and also have QA colleagues to test it end to end, together with the infrastructure engineer to make configuration and other changes. So whenever we have a production issue related to that specific application or a system, the same guys that were working on it would know exactly what to investigate. They should have all access needed from the ops perspective, and that would be the best and quickest way and with more quality, with most quality actually way to investigate something, to fix any bugs or data related stuff and deploy back to production quickly. Okay, thank you. And the other question was, how can we structure first responder and second responder on production support, having in mind to foster collaboration? Structure first and the second responder. Okay, welcome, Edo. For the second question, again, I'm not sure if I'm getting it correctly. Having in mind first responder and second, okay, so we are talking about first and second level of support. Probably. So again, this depends. So okay, so again, it depends on the complexity of the applications that we are supporting. So basically, in a lot of situations, we have like some external company or a team working as a first level of support, meaning that it's like a ticketing system to get all the issues reported correctly and tracked via tickets. But basically, the second level of support should be a development team or something similar to get all the tickets from their side that are properly structured and everything else. So on the question, the FUSA collaboration and structure them, basically they couldn't be the part of the same team probably, especially for complex and big applications used by a lot of customers. So I would tend to have them working in real time, as we mentioned in the presentation, for any complex or urgent stuff. So on the one side, I would create always a process to log a ticket and get everything properly from one team to another, but also keep an open channel for urgent stuff that can be actually discussed in real time. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, we have another one, as I can see. Where will the session recording be posted? Again, that'll go for you, maybe.
Yeah, all of the sessions will be posted on the Bosnia Agile YouTube channel, as well as the presentations will be posted also on our SlideShare, and you will be notified by following our social channels.
Okay, thank you, Albert, very much. Okay, I don't see any other questions. We have still a couple of minutes left. Do you guys want to ask anything else? Okay, another question. How can we draft a coherent sprint goal with accommodating production support so that if an incident occurs, it would deviate, endanger the team to achieve the sprint goal? So this was also mentioned briefly at the end of presentation. Thanks for asking. Maybe additional explanation is needed. For these teams, we would need to do some analysis actually on the previous period. So basically, not all teams of a similar structure would be impacted, I would say, on the same level for production support in the same way. So basically, we could do an analysis for the last sprint, 6 sprints, for example, and see when we create the teams and see how they work and how much capacity and their time they spend on fixing something in production, besides improving quality and everything else related to that. We could actually structure the sprint goal in regard to all the PBRs and the sprint backlog to have enough percentage, actually big enough to attend to production support. So basically this should be negotiated with the product owner probably, which is actually like a front side between the client and the teams, that we need to, because the teams are committing on the sprint goal, not on the sprint backlog. So we need actually to take the functionalities to be worked on by the team in that level to have enough capacity in regards to the previous analysis for the previous period to be able to attend to all the urgent production issues that could occur in the current sprint. So basically that would ensure that actually the sprint goal is not endangered. All the items that are planned for the sprint goal are delivered at the end of the sprint, and all other things, if a few team members are attending to production support, could be pushed back to the next sprint or put back to the product backlog to be reprioritized for the upcoming sprints. Yes, you are right. So it is saying, okay, based on empirism, yes, and everything in the Scrum. Okay, you're welcome. Okay, I don't see any other questions. Dalbor, do we still have time or we are out of time for this session?
Yeah, no more questions. So I think that we are done for today. I want to thank you, Mustafa, for your presentation and for joining us for this Bosnia Agile Week. And also I want to thank to all attendees for coming today. Tomorrow, 3 p.m., we are also having another interesting session from Eric Butler. So I'm kindly asking you to join us tomorrow as well. So I wish you all have a good day.
Yeah, me too. Thank you, Bosnia Agile, for organizing this beautiful conference, even in these hard times. And thanks everyone for joining this session. I hope I delivered some useful information to everyone. And if you have any additional questions later on, don't hesitate, please, to contact me offline. Thank you, everyone, and I hope I see you all in person soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mustafa. Bye-bye.